that example, kind of a poor example in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Then he uses an example, and then in the preface of his thing, he goes into, you know, what everybody knows: strokes and cardiac arrest. You know, minutes count, seconds count. You know, so he uses that as the foundation to say, oh my gosh, it took you guys 12 minutes to get out in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, so now getting back to the stroke, he's picking and choosing the runs he wants to use. We had 2 strokes in one day. We had one during paid staff hours. Of course, what happens during paid staff hours? Out the door right away. But he's only looking at out the door time. So skip the one where we're out the door in a minute. Let's wait till the one that comes in at 8:30. Why? We're off duty at 4:30, and the trustees control all this. They're the ones that set the time frame when we work. And you guys paid for a pretty healthy levy. I don't think it would substantially cover 24 hours a day, but it would cover a lot more than what it's covering.
And we've been asking for that.
And we have been asking that actually from the jump. I think initially we wanted 3 people on during the day, and they said no, 2 and nobody on the weekends. And we're not going to do it for a 12-hour shift like you originally asked for. We're going to do it for 8.5 hours, from 8 to 4:30. So anyway, this basically falls back in their lap, is what I'm getting at. But on this stroke, I don't even see where. Oh, he says that we failed to call mutual aid. Okay, well, let me explain to you how this works. I don't want to keep you here all night long. But our dispatch center has an agreement, I believe, with the Chiefs Association. County Fire Chiefs Association. So basically, every fire chief in this county agrees that the following policy is the best way to handle runs. So the policy is this: fire run comes in or EMS run comes in, they notify us, our pagers go off, timer starts, 6 minutes. If we answer the radio in that 6 minutes and say, yeah, we're going to handle the run, or no, we're not, that's going to dictate what happens next. If they hear nothing from us, so let's say it takes us 8 minutes to get to the station, and all 6 minutes go by, on that 6th minute, they're starting the next fire department, automatically, without any say-so from us.
They're required to do that, and if they fail to do that, they get written up.
So what he has done is he's found a 911 center violation, a pretty clear, and in his opinion, a pretty substantial 911 center violation occurred in our township.
Right.
Right. We still got out the door pretty quick during volunteer hours on that, but what he's alluding to is that we somehow dropped the ball to notify mutual aid. It's not our. We already accomplished that by policy. Darren agreed with the rest of the fire chiefs. We put it in writing. It got approved by the EMA director and everybody else. That's the way it goes in Marianne Township, Hanover, whatever. Now, the only way that can stop or get modified is if a fire chief gets on the radio and says, hey, we have a crew. We're going to be out the door in 30 seconds, so it's kind of fruitless to call Newark because it's going to take them 6 minutes to get, and we're already here in 30 seconds, so just go ahead and stop. A fire chief can make that decision. But that's not what happened in this issue. So he's beating us up on that one. Again, not our fault. Let's see here. Yeah, I already covered that. I don't want to keep you here all day long. So here's two that really burned my rear end a little bit. Now the cardiac arrest that we talked about, this is all on this same day. But here's a run he's pointing to during paid staff hours, and he's making us look really bad by doing this. We had 2 people on station, and we get a 3 semi crash at State Route 16 and Marne Road. Okay, we have 2 people on station, and we also had 2 volunteers around that day, and I happen to be one of them. Hamatro, our hydraulic rescue tools manufacturer, their service technician was at our station. Funny enough, they had just got done at Hanover Station, and they drove right up the street because it's convenient for them to come out and do them all in one day in one area. So they just left Hanover, they come up to Madison. They pull off all of our rescue tools. So what I'm talking about here is the Jaws of Life, things like that, rams, very heavy stuff, it's big, it's cumbersome, and we have about 10 pounds of stuff on a 5-pound bucket on our rescue, so you have to put this in a precise order very carefully, do you not?
Yes.
To even make it get on the truck. So anyway, fast forwarding a little bit, we got the equivalent of a Jaws of Life, which probably weighs 70 pounds or whatever by itself off. Cutters, spreaders, rams, hoses, 2 power plants, which are basically 2 Honda generators off the truck. And where are they at? They're at this box truck or pickup truck that the guy come in and he's using his tester stuff on it. So all of our stuff's off the truck being tested. We get dispatched for an auto accident with commercial vehicles involved. Do you think we might need some hydraulic rescue tools? Yep, I think we do. Hey, service tech, can we disconnect everything real quick and put this back on the fire truck? Mind you, we've got 2 people working at the station that day. Larry and I were out and about in the township that day, running errands and stuff like that. So we both go to the scene, and we get there first and realize that we got a mess on our hands, which involved getting the EMA and everybody else out there because of fuel spills and stuff like that. But anyway, so he makes this argument that, again, Hanover Medic, right out the door, and we had paid staff. Yet it took us, let's see, dispatch and route time, it took us 4 minutes to get out. 4 minutes is absolutely trucking when you're putting this stuff back on. Those guys must have been sprinting, trying to put this stuff back on the truck. They're going as fast as they could and putting this stuff back on the truck, and then we had to take it. You can't just leave all your hydraulic equipment, go into an auto accident, otherwise you're not really running a rescue, you're taking an engine. We need a rescue, so we had to take that stuff with us. So he beat us to death on that one, didn't look into the facts of the matter on that case.
And he did.
Well, maybe he did, and he just intentionally skipped it.
Oh, no, I think it was perfect. He picked and chose.
Okay, so again, another bad example. And that is the same day we had no medic units. So we had no ambulances to send anyway, so we had to send the rescue. Then we get done with that, just barely get back in the station from this wreck because, like I said, the state EPA and EMA and everybody was out there for this crash. We just get that mopped up, get back in the station, still do not have our ambulances back. Of course, the ambulance does come back later that night, as I mentioned earlier on my cardiac arrest run.
Not important, which he has stated many times. We've called and said, we've got a unit down. You've got 2 of them.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Yeah, it's not an emergency repair in their eyes.
Yes.
So you guys having an ambulance in your township is not important to them.
Fire truck, not important.
Yeah, it can wait till Monday. It's Friday night, it can wait till Monday. Oh, okay.
Almost 2 weeks.
So then we get dispatched for a river rescue right after that. Okay? So he tries to say that Hanover's medic right out the door. Well, I should hope so. They're sitting down there, right out the door. And then then there is no on-scene time on here. I played back the audio because I know who got on the scene first because I got on scene first. And I was in the first fire truck getting there and I was driving it. Larry got there first in his personal vehicle. And he's a captain, so he took command on the bridge and everything. So we still, with the following problem, got there first. Our next handicap for this day is it's a dive run. It's a water rescue run. What do you need for that? You need boats and you need a rescue trailer. Well, have you ever seen our station? If you haven't, we have to move fire trucks out of the station, get the boats, roll the boats out. Meanwhile, the fire trucks are sitting in the middle of First Street, so we have to back those back in the station because that's enough clearance to get the boat out of the station. Then we have to bring our grass truck out, take it around the side of the building, unlock a padlock on the tongue on the trailer, and hook up this very heavy rescue trailer. So we were able to accomplish all this and still beat Hanover to the scene. And they are on staff, paid 24/7, the best fire department around, well, I'm told. So, and we're getting beat up for this. So we're 2 trucks down, and we got all this jostling to do, and we still beat them. And this is what he points to as a reason to close your fire department. All this is in writing. It's very easy. Greg.
Yeah, no, what he's stating here is they were quicker to get out the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
I
on the
think that's
scene.
point
Not
make.
to the scene.
Not on the
Not on the
scene,
scene,
just
but
out the door.
They did all that stuff, and Hanover did get out the door,
Right.
but they didn't make it to the scene on time.
And mind
We
you,
beat them to the scene. And Mark is purposely leaving the on the scene off of the report, and you can watch it if you watch it on tape. He's doing it because he doesn't want you to think about it. What's scary is that he's so stupid that he doesn't know that we'll look at this.
right. Right. Exactly.
Doesn't runs out of 580 or 900.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's talking about less than 1% of the runs you made last year. That's all he could dig, and he was digging for sure.
Don't
The
freak.
thing you've got to remember, though, is he only has to appease the trustees. He doesn't answer to us. He answers to the board
Right.
of trustees.
That is a true statement.
And don't forget, on your dive and rescue run, Hanover said if they were getting another run, they were leaving that scene.
That is a true story. Okay, so Hanover informed Captain Thomas. They were out the door very quick, got there right behind us. Hey, by the way, since this is going to be an all-day affair looking for these people down the river, if we get another run, we're out of here. That
which
was
is
their
against-
answer.
Which is against your incident command system.
Right. So, and that's against all the mutual aid policies are in place, whatever. They got to get permission to leave and all this stuff because you're obligated at that point. You got called. You got specifically called to come help us, to have a medic unit stand by. What if one of our rescuers drowns? Or what if the person we found is needing to be resuscitated? We have no ambulance. We called you because we have no ambulance. And they're going to jet. Well, thankfully, you know, we found them and got them out or whatever. But anyway, that pretty much, the rest of this was for the trustees. I was just going to light them up, but we can't even talk. So, Chief?
I just have 2 quick points, because I don't want to keep you, but 2 things that stood out. Number 1, I don't make $20,000 a year as a chief. When I first started the department, it was not paid. It was completely volunteer. And I was paid by 2 funds. One is the chief, and that was to do administrative stuff. And I did that on my days off and in the evenings. I got paid and get paid until 2 weeks ago, $600 a month. Okay, which if you look at some of the time we put into it, was pretty darn cheap, but not fair because I had 8 other officers working for me, doing a lot of work, who got paid nothing. The other fund I got paid out of is what I developed as our volunteer incentive plan. It's a point system. Most volunteer departments, little something to try to help the guys out. I can't tell you how many times I had people come to me saying, Chief, I can't afford to drive down to the station 5 and 6 times a week and pay for fuel. I mean, remember when fuel first hit $4, and that, honestly, that broke my heart. You know, you got people who are, you know, you're trained, they have time to give to the community, but they can't afford, they have to decide whether they can afford to drive to work and take their kids to school or make runs. So we developed this volunteer incentive plan. And last year, it paid out 12 and a quarter each, is that right, per run for a long run. We either did a short run or a long run. Short run under 30 minutes or non-EMS transport, it was half of that. It was $6.15 or something. Then we become paid. I would pick up hours during the daytime to staff the engines to do those runs. So between the 3 of them, I made probably $20,000. I did not make that as the chief. And they turned around and tossed, how much to Brian?
$12,000
as a figurehead position.
That's all it is. By law, you have to have either a fire chief or a fire prevention officer. I would bet you he could write on 2 lines what he'll do. I think I've done a handful of safety inspections at people's houses that have either foster kids or daycare in their home. And some of you have seen me do that. That was ridiculous to just toss out $12,000 to be a fire prevention officer. I'm going to get figures, but I'll bet it's the highest paid fire prevention officer in Licking County. So again, he twisted those numbers. I was working my tail off. I would leave my job in Columbus at 7 o'clock and be in Newark by 7:55, meet with Doug each morning, and work 2 and 3 days a week. So I just want to make sure, and I want to bring that up to him and have him explain that. As far as money, this is not about money. Carryover, this is right from your fiscal officer. We have to track these because we file for grants every year to try to get money to help us out. And we had been asking over and over again, let's start billing. We were one of the only departments, there's very few. Most departments in Licking County are billing for EMS. EMS is very expensive. Some of these meds expire are $50 and $100 a vial. But we've been asking to bill for EMS, and that money would also help fund to get us paid around the clock, like Hanover is now. But nevertheless, we didn't do that, and they fought me on that. 2011, carryover, $211,000. Okay, we only bring in 261 that year. And I complained about this. Why are you not letting me spend money? We would have to fight tooth and nail. This fire gear, yes.
Just to clarify, is that just the fire levies?
That's just 2 fire levies. That's your 2 fire levies. And we would fight year after year, tooth and nail, to get fire gear or to get a washing machine. I mean, honestly, Dave and
Generator.
Tracy and other chiefs quit because they got tired of it. They said, why do we have to fight? We're volunteering. Back when Tracy and Dave were chief, it was 100% volunteer. We're coming down here and volunteering our time. Why do we have to beg to get the resources?
When it's your own money.
When it's the fire department's money.
It's the money that came from,
The levies.
2012.
for that purpose.
2012 carryover, $130,000. We brought in 263 that year. 2013 carryover, $165,000. We brought in $275 that year. 2014 carryover, $183,000. So, I mean, that's 60% of my money for the year, and they're not letting me spend it. So you can see this is not a new issue with them. Every time we wanted something, I don't care what it was, we had to bring it up over and over and over again. And this is what they didn't like. When we started going to the public and saying, hey, you know, we started getting on Facebook, we started making a web page and going to the citizens.
In order to get a new tanker, we literally had the doors falling off of the tank.
In the bottom of the compartments. We couldn't
couldn't
carry
store
equipment in it. It was rusted out and the equipment was falling out as we was driving
Our
down the
gear
road.
would be wet.
It was-
by the time we
This is
got
a
there.
safety issue. If a compartment comes open and equipment goes through somebody's windshield.
And we've had that before several times, going through the S curves on Marne Road right there at 16 at Lamb's Lane. But the tanker was 32 years old. Finally, we got, who drives a vehicle 32 years old? And this is emergency equipment, okay?
I thought that equipment had to be updated every 10 years or
That's just the pumpers.
Is that all that is?
Well, yeah, that's there.
NFPA.
NFPA says at 10 years, we should be replacing them.
That's what I understand.
If they're not refurbed, and that's what we were shooting for on the engine. And 5 years ago, we said, look, we need to refurb this trucks. It's showing structural deficiency, multiple issues, and they wouldn't.
So they wanted $40,000 to refurb the truck. You could use 10 more years.
You could use
Then
10 more
now
years.
It's gonna cost $750 to replace it, so they just cost us $700,000, those people, they were truck
Right.
Cost us.
But NFPA says,
$700,000.
after that 10-year mark, you shouldn't be investing large amounts of money in it. You should be looking at replacing it. Our tanker was 32 years
Or
old.
10 years old.
The two chiefs before me was asking for the truck to be replaced. And finally, we absolutely could not carry equipment in it. It wouldn't even hold water. I mean, how many times we have the baffles weld? So, if anybody wants, I have all this stuff, you know, I mean, all the way back to, I think we become paid staff almost 5 years ago.
2009,
We changed
August
how
of
we did
2009.
our email, we keep daily logs, everything. We documented very well all this stuff. And I don't think they expected that, but anyways, this was not about money. We had money, we were working well within our budget. And it just, it's horrible. Oh, by the way, I'm on Madison Township Fire full-time in Franklin County, which is in Groveport. They pulled records requests from my fire department. I don't know if you guys know that. My department doesn't care. Okay, what I do here is my business as long as I don't like go way off the deep end. But it sucks when you work at your full-time job, your bread and butter, and your employer comes to you and says you cannot speak at public meetings and you cannot say this and you cannot do that. And by the way, there's false complaints made of you about drug abuse and other things. Yes. So Dave and Larry can't talk about that because they work at a fire department that tries to keep their mouth taped shut, but my department doesn't say so. But I can tell you, we are dying for this report to be released from this investigation because we have 3 different attorneys working on it, and they're going to feel some burn when they do. So,
I bet it
But-
dies in the water.
yeah, yeah. So, nope. No, it's in a recovery effort at this point. They're going to, when the water
Oh, I was
recedes,
like, what?
they'll probably find them downstream in what we call a strainer, where you have a bunch of trees fall down and water runs through it. That's where they're going to. Dave's recovered a couple bodies here locally, and that's exactly where you find them.
2 quick points. Yeah.
So you were talking about part of the report. I think one of the things that we should also demand of the trustees once we try to get something done is I think that every person in the fire department deserves an apology for everything that they've had to go through.
Yeah, we'll never
They
get
won't
that.
do that.
They-
They won't do that.
It's not right, because everybody that was on the
Did you
department
Mention
has,
that the funds were taken out of the fire.
because
fund,
they've
not the
never
general
said this
fund to pay
person,
for
that
the stuff.
person, or
Right.
what's been
Oh,
done.
I didn't know
or
there
hasn't been
was
done.
it?
It looks bad
told
for
me that.
every single person on that department.
It does.
That's
And
correct.
that's running
And-
everybody's reputation.
And here's,
Not right.
here's where we're at with this.
Let me explain something real quick. Some people, I work in another fire department. So you have to have an affiliation to keep up your certification nowadays. Some people don't have another fire department, and they've applied to other fire departments and have already been denied. Why?
Because of Madison.
Because they don't want involved in whatever this crap is going on out
Yeah.
here. That's the people I feel bad for.
And that's not right.
You're absolutely right.
Let me give you a quick point about this investigation that they're running. They were very much in a hurry to interview a core group of people. However, as soon as we used our own money and hired an attorney, they canceled the interviews and they will not even return the phone calls to our attorney. 14 of us just drove to Cincinnati 2 weeks ago and we met with our attorney, and he says that he has called the prosecutor's office not once, not twice, but 3 times now, because he wants a list of who's involved and what they're being accused of, and they will not even return his phone call. And I can tell you right now, I would put my hand on a Bible and swear to it, to the best of my knowledge, nobody at Madison Township has not done anything except serve their community proudly. All right? So here's where you're at. Hanover does have paid people around the clock. That's the only ones that's going to get there quickly. Because what Hanover does not have, like Madison has, is they don't have a reserve of volunteer firefighters. When the city of Newark would have a large fire, Madison Township would staff 4 trucks and go in and help cover the city on a regular basis. I was trying to find the report, and unfortunately we're handcuffed right now because they stole all of our records from us. But there was a report of a house fire on Brushy Fork Road this past winter, and Hanover didn't have anybody show up. Madison rolled 5 pieces of equipment with 17 people, and that was your volunteers.
That was volunteers.
Yeah. So paid people are awesome, but your volunteers is your second wave that you always count on. And right now, they fired all of us. Fired all the volunteers. So best of luck to everybody out there. What I can tell you is we are fighting very hard and we're leaving no stone unturned. I mean, we are literally communicating 3 and 4 times a day, every single day.
I do want to say one thing. Again, and I don't want this to be a mud throwing contest, but something that we have always had a disagreement on with Hanover is the level of service. Madison Township has had 9 paramedics. Hanover doesn't seem to have the availability of paramedics, nor do we feel like the level of training. And being a paramedic and being a paramedic is 2 different things. And for instance, just over the weekend, because trust me, we're tracking their calls, they had an incident at Briarcliff Motocross. They call in a helicopter to fly this person to a level 1 trauma center in Columbus with basic EMTs. That doesn't wash in my book, okay? And we worked on this. Trust me, I got in a screaming match with Brian Spellman on the scene of emergency because someone with a fractured arm from an auto accident where they put their arm out to stop themselves, we wanted to start an IV and give them pain medicine. His statement to me was, everybody doesn't need an IV and morphine for pain. I said, maybe not in Hanover, but they deserve that in Madison Township. So, yes. So that's the only other thing I would caution you about. If you or a relative calls, you know, trust me, if you're having chest pain or difficulty breathing, oxygen is not the treatment, okay? There's many more things that come in line behind that. So.
9 minutes, something like that.
We will do our best to keep everybody informed. We just ordered 100 yard signs that says we support Madison Township Fire Department. When we get those in, anybody that is interested in those,
do we want to explain that?
we're going to plaster those things up everywhere.
T-shirts.
We've got 114 t-shirts coming.
Yes.
We have T-shirts coming. If you haven't ordered a T-shirt and you would like to order a T-shirt, please let us know. We can place another order for T-shirts. T-shirts say #MTFD
MTFD.
MTFD proud.